Hello, my crafty friends. Well, today we are going to focus on some easy window card ideas. Hi, it's Lynn Dunn from Stamptastic Designs. Thanks so much for joining me today. In this episode of Stamptastic TV, I have two different window card ideas that I want to share with you. Now, these cards feature the Daffodil Daydream Bundle from Stampin Up. So you can really use this bundle to create cards for any occasion, but I'm going to focus on Easter today. I will also be using some of the daffodil dies. So once I create the window cards, I'm going to show you how to use up some of those leftover scraps to create 3 more beautiful cards. Okay, so this first card that I have to share with you is just the basic window design. So I just used a circle die to create the little window in my card. And then on the inside is where I did all of the coloring. But these beautiful daffodils show through on the front of the card. It's such a pretty idea and it's very simple to do. So let me show you how to do this. So we're going to start with a piece of white cardstock. So this is my standard card base. It's 5.5 by 8.5, scored in the middle at 4 1/4 inches to create the base of the card. So this is the standard card base I will be using for all the cards I'm sharing today. So the next thing you need is a piece of designer paper. So I'm using some of the paper from the Pansy Petals Designer Series Paper Pack. So I'm just using the yellow. So you'll want to cut a piece that is 4 by 5 1/4 inches and just adhere this directly to your card front. So when we create the window, we're going to be cutting through both this designer paper and the card front. So the next thing you want to do is choose a die that you want to use. You can use circles, squares, whatever shape you want. I'm using the layering circle dies. So we're going to take this about a 2.5 inch circle. So we're going to take it and lay it on the card front, and I'm going to just off center it just a little bit so that I can tie a little bit of ribbon over here on the side of my window. So let me go ahead and cut this out. So you run the entire thing through your embossing machine, and the die will cut out both layers, both the card front, so I have the white on the back and I have my pattern paper on the front. So save this piece because I'm going to give you a fun way to use it to create another card. Okay, so now we have our window that is cut into our card front. So now we need to create the focal point that is going to show through that window. So I'm going to be using some stamping blends to create my focal point. So basically I cut a 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of white cardstock. This is going to go on the inside of the card. Because I'm using stamping blends, they tend to bleed through the cardstock, so that's why I'm just adding an extra layer. So the first thing I want to do is take that white piece of cardstock, that 4 by 5 1/4, and I want to line it up on the inside of the card. And then I'm just going to take my little circle shape and I'm just going to pop this through so that I have it lined up sort of in the middle there. So this is where I want to stamp the main part of my image. So I'm just going to slide this off of here. I'm going to take some black Memento ink and I'm just going to ink up my image. So this is the large daffodil image from the set. And so I want my image to be right about there. So I'm going to move my circle and we'll stamp the image right where that circle shape was. That'll just help you kind of line up or guide, you know, where you want to stamp your image so that it shows through that window. So now I'm just going to use a variety of Stampin' Blends to color my image. So this first one is just some Soft Succulent. I'm using the very light shade of Soft Succulent. Next, I'm going to add some light Daffodil Delight. So this is obviously the perfect color for this. And now I'm going to take the dark Daffodil Delight Stampin' Blend and just kind of add a little darker color, kind of where all the veins of the flowers are, just to kind of highlight it a little bit. And then the last thing I did is I just took some pool party. This is the light pool party. And I just kind of went around the image. And you don't have to get too fancy. But I just kind of went around the image and just added this color just to kind of highlight it a little bit and to add a little bit more color to my image. All right, so it just kind of gives it a fun little background. You don't have to add that light blue behind there. I just thought it kind of accented everything nicely. Okay, so now we are ready to assemble our card. So we can open up our card, and this piece is going to go right on the inside, and you'll see that it shows through the window perfectly. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere this. So we'll just test it to make sure it is perfect. All right, let's finish decorating the front of the card. Okay, so the next thing I did is just cut a 1 by 4 inch piece of designer paper here and a 1 1/4 by 4 inch piece of soft succulent. And I'm just gonna adhere these two pieces together. And then once you have the pieces adhered together, then you can just go ahead and adhere them to the bottom part of the card front. So it just adds a nice little accent piece. Then I just stamped a greeting on a scrap piece of white cardstock, just using some of that soft succulent, and I added a little splatter image on here as well. Then I punched this out with one of my punches. You can use any shape that you have to add your little greeting. The next thing I did is just took a little bit of this sheer ribbon. So this is some of the soft succulent ribbon. And I'm just gonna create a double knot right here on the side. And then I'm just turning my card upside down to tie my little bow. Okay, so once you have your bow tied, you can go ahead and add just a couple little embellishments. I'm just using some pearls. All right, so there you go. There is the first window card. Okay, the second window card is another pretty simple design. This time, instead of using a full sheet of designer paper, I used little strips of designer paper to create this fun look on my card. So let me show you how to do this one. So you're going to start with a piece of white cardstock for the base of your card. And then you're going to cut 5 little pieces of designer paper. I just used all different patterns. And these pieces are 3/4 inch wide and they're 5 1/4 inch long. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on the right side here and I'm going to work my way left. But I'm just going to turn the card. So you'll just adhere the pieces and just don't adhere them completely to the edge or completely to the top or bottom edge or side edge. Just leave a little bit of matting as you adhere the pieces. Leave a bit of matting on the top and bottom. But the actual pieces are going to get adhered side by side. So does that make sense? So just leave a little matting up there. All right, so that's what our card looks like. And then there's a little bit of a gap here. So that's where I just added this little white scalloped piece. So I just used the scalloped contour dies just to create this piece. So I started with a 1 by 5 1/4 inch piece of white cardstock, and then I just cut the scallop design out of one of the sides of the cardstock. So it just kind of finishes the card off nicely. All right, the next thing we want to do is take our 2 1/2 inch circle and we're going to kind of center it between these 4 pieces here on this side. And we're going to cut our design right into the card front. Okay, so now that we have our little design cut in there, we have our little window. You're going to save this piece. I'll show you how to use this piece up to create another card. And then now what we're going to do is we're going to create this little scalloped piece to go around our circle. So the nice thing about these layering circle dies is that there's a scallop die that coordinates with the regular circle die. So you can layer these two together and you can send it through your embossing machine and create a little frame or a little window circle that you can use to cover up that spot on your window card. So we will go ahead and adhere this, and it just dresses up your little window very nicely. The next thing I did is just stamped a little greeting on a 3/4 by 3" piece of white cardstock. And I'm just going to add this right away since we're decorating the front. And then we'll go ahead and add our little pearls. And then we're ready to decorate the inside. Okay, so again, I'm going to start with a 4 by 5 1/4" piece of white cardstock. And this is going to go on the inside of our card. So I'm just going to kind of line it up in here. And then I'm going to use this circle to help me determine placement. Right about there, that looks pretty good. So we'll just slide this piece out, and then we'll ink up our image again, and we'll use that circle shape as a guide, and we will put our image right here. Okay, so now we can go ahead and color it the same way that we colored the other one. Okay, so now I have my flowers colored. So this time I left that blue off just to show you the difference, and we'll see which one you like better. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere this on the inside of my card. All right, so that's what it looks like on the inside. So here's what the other one looks like. So one has kind of that blue coloring on it, and then the other one does not. So leave me a comment below to let me know which one you like better. Okay, so now that we've created our window card, we still have this leftover circle shape that we needed to use. So I decided to design a card like this to use up that circle shape. So I'm using this large scallop to create this little scallop circle design here. So I just cut a piece of soft succulent and then added my circle shape. Then of course I just stamped the florals on a scrap piece of cardstock and colored them in. And then there's a die in the set that you can use to cut those out. Then I just added a little 3/4" wide piece of designer paper, one of the patterns from up here, just to kind of make everything pop. So this one is a really simple card. Well, they're all pretty simple, but I just really love this design. I love all the different colors on it. Okay, so here are the 2 cards that I showed you so far that you can use those leftover circle shapes to create these cards. But you can also just create an additional card if you really like that watercolored kind of background that I did with the pool party Stampin' Blends. You can accomplish the same thing with this very simple card design. So I just thought I'd give you a couple simple card ideas and some ways to use up scraps along with your little window card ideas for today. Okay, so there you go. Now you have 2 different ways that you can create a window on the front of your card, and you also have 3 different card ideas for using up those scraps once you create the window. And if you enjoyed these card ideas, feel free to download the printable tutorial. You can find the link in the description below this video. Thanks so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know by liking it and sharing it with your friends. And leave me a comment below to let me know what you enjoyed most about the video and the cards shared here today. Have a fun and creative day, my friends. Take care.